For years, two officers twisted routine checks into weapons. Each encounter, another chance to target black families and prove their power. They turned their focus on a black woman with her baby. To them, she seemed like the perfect target. Alone, vulnerable, easy to intimidate. Their taunts grew sharper, their threats bolder, all fueled by the certainty that no one would stop them. But what they didn't realize was that this woman carried more than courage. She carried authority. She was the state's attorney, and their campaign of fear was about to collapse under the weight of truth and justice. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. The afternoon sun beat down on Alana Pierce's silver sedan as she drove home from the pediatrician. In the rearview mirror, she could see 2-month-old Noah sleeping peacefully in his car seat, his tiny chest rising and falling with each breath. The appointment had gone well. His respiratory issues were improving, and the doctor was pleased with his weight gain. Red and blue lights suddenly flashed behind her, shattering her moment of calm. Alana checked her speed. She'd been going exactly the limit. With practiced composure, she signaled and pulled over to the curb, positioning her car well out of traffic. Her hands moved deliberately to the 10 and 2 positions on the steering wheel as she lowered her window. 2 officers approached, one on each side of her car. The older one, wearing sergeant's stripes, took the lead while his younger partner hung back slightly. Alana noticed how the younger officer's hand rested near his holster, despite her completely non-threatening position. "License and registration," the sergeant demanded without preamble. His nameplate read, "Daly." "Of course, officer," Alana replied evenly. "My registration is in the glove compartment. I'm going to reach for it now." She moved slowly, hyper-aware of their watching eyes as she retrieved the documents. The younger officer, Mercer according to his badge, had circled around to peer through her passenger window. "You rolled right through that stop sign back there," Sergeant Daly said, examining her license with exaggerated scrutiny. "And looks like your taillight might be out too." Alana knew she'd made a full stop. She'd been extra careful with Noah in the car, and she'd just had her car serviced. All lights were working perfectly. But she kept her voice calm and reasonable. "I'm certain I came to a complete stop, Sergeant, and my lights were all working this morning. Would you mind showing me which one appears to be out?" Daly ignored her request, his eyes narrowing as he looked from her license to her car. "Nice ride for a single mom," he commented with a sneer. "Guess welfare must be paying pretty good these days." The casual racism in his tone made her stomach clench, but she maintained her composure. Years as a public defender had taught her how quickly these situations could escalate. Officer Mercer suddenly shined his flashlight directly into the back seat, the harsh beam hitting Noah's face. The baby startled awake with a frightened cry. "Please don't do that," Alana said firmly. "You're scaring him." Mercer ignored her, keeping the light trained on her crying son. "Hope he don't grow up like his daddy," he smirked. "Oh, wait, you got one of those?" Alana's hands tightened on the wheel, but her voice remained steady. "I'd like both of your badge numbers, please, and your supervisor's contact information." Daly's face hardened. He handed back her license with deliberate slowness. "Lady, you don't tell us how this works. You cooperate, we'll let you feed your kid tonight. Put your keys on the dashboard and step out of the vehicle." Noah's cries grew louder, the sound tearing at her heart. But Alana knew better than to argue or make sudden moves. "He's just getting over respiratory issues," she said quietly. "The crying isn't good for him. Please." "Out of the car," Mercer cut her off. "Let's get her around back. Don't want the baby watching Mommy get rowdy." The threat in his tone was unmistakable. Alana's mind raced through her options, weighing each potential response against the risks. She could feel sweat beading on her forehead despite the car's air conditioning. Noah's wails echoed in the confined space. His face was turning red with distress, tiny fists waving in the air. Every maternal instinct screamed at her to comfort him, but she forced herself to move with careful deliberation. She removed her seatbelt slowly, making sure both officers could see her hands at all times. The asphalt radiated heat as she opened her door, the summer air thick and oppressive. Daly stood uncomfortably close, his bulk forcing her to edge sideways to exit the vehicle. "Toward the trunk," he ordered, gesturing with a casual flick of his hand that carried the weight of absolute authority. Noah's cries grew more frantic behind her as she complied, each step taking her further from her baby. The heat from the trunk's metal surface burned against Alana's palms as she stood spread-eagled behind her car. Traffic whizzed past, the rush of air from each vehicle making her professional blazer flutter. She fought to stay calm, knowing that any sudden movement could give these officers the excuse they seemed to be looking for. Sergeant Daly loomed behind her, close enough that she could smell the coffee on his breath. His hand kept brushing against his holster, a deliberate gesture meant to remind her of her vulnerability. Through the back window, she could see Officer Mercer leaning into her car again, his flashlight beam once more trained on Noah's face. Her baby's frightened cries pierced the humid afternoon air. "Stop antagonizing my son," Alana said, working to keep her voice steady despite her rising anger. "He has breathing issues." "Shut it," Daly snapped. He began patting her down with unnecessary roughness, his hands lingering longer than protocol would dictate. "Interesting. I'm noting a strong odor of alcohol. Subject appears unstable." Alana's heart jumped. She hadn't had a drink in months, not since before her pregnancy. "That's a lie, and you know it. I just came from my son's pediatrician appointment." Mercer's laugh carried from inside the car. "She's got a baby in the back, but can't even drive sober. Real mother of the year here." Noah's cries grew more frantic, the sound becoming ragged and wheezy. Alana could hear the beginning of the breathing problems his doctor had warned about. She tried to turn her head to check on him, but Daly grabbed her shoulder, shoving her back against the trunk. "I said don't move," he hissed, his mouth inches from her ear. His weight pressed against her back, pinning her in place. "Let me explain something real simple. If I say you're impaired, then you're impaired. Who do you think the court's gonna believe? Some mouthy woman who can't follow basic instructions? Or two decorated officers?" The threat hung in the air between them. Alana could feel her professional composure cracking. Every instinct screamed at her to get to Noah, to protect her child. But years of legal experience told her these men were looking for any excuse to escalate. Mercer emerged from the car, still chuckling. "Baby or cuffs, ma'am? Pick one. Your choice how this goes down." Noah's wheezing had grown worse, his cries taking on a worrying, whistling quality that Alana recognized from his previous breathing episodes. Fear clawed at her throat, but she forced herself to think clearly. She needed to end this now. "I want your supervisor here immediately," she demanded, her voice carrying the authority she'd developed over years in courtrooms. "This stop is unauthorized, and your conduct is completely inappropriate." Daly's laugh was ugly. "You don't set the terms here, lady. Maybe we need to call child services, check if you're fit to have that kid at all. Drinking and driving with a baby? That's serious business." "Yeah," Mercer added. "Shame if something happened to make you lose custody. Lots of paperwork, though. Might be easier if you just showed some respect." The casual cruelty in their voices made it clear. They'd done this before, probably countless times. How many other mothers had they terrorized? How many other children had they traumatized? The realization crystallized something in Alana's mind. She straightened her spine, despite Daly's attempting to keep her bent over the trunk. "I am Alana Pierce," she announced, her voice ringing with clarity and purpose. "I am the elected state's attorney for this county, and you are currently detaining me unlawfully. I want your badge numbers. Now." The pressure on her back vanished as Daly stepped away so quickly he nearly stumbled. The silence that followed was broken only by Noah's continued crying. She turned to face them, noting how Mercer's cocky expression had drained away, replaced by something that looked very much like fear. Daly recovered first, plastering an obviously fake smile across his face. "Just a routine safety check, Ms. Pierce. Can't be too careful these days." He practically threw her license and registration at her. "You have a nice day now." They retreated to their cruiser with barely concealed haste, all previous bravado evaporating in the face of who she actually was. Alana waited until they pulled away before rushing to check on Noah. His face was red and tear-streaked, his breathing still labored from the stress. "It's okay, baby," she murmured, gently wiping his cheeks. "Mommy's here. You're safe now." She adjusted his car seat straps where Mercer had disturbed them, checking twice to ensure everything was secure. Back behind the wheel, Alana gripped it so tightly her knuckles turned white. Noah's sobs gradually quieted to hiccuping breaths in the back seat. She pulled away from the curb with textbook precision, hyper-aware of the retreating police cruiser in her rearview mirror. As soon as Alana stepped through her front door, her legal training kicked in. She knew the next 24 hours would be crucial. Still carrying Noah's car seat, she headed straight to her home office, her steps quick and purposeful on the hardwood floors. "Everything fresh," she muttered, setting Noah's carrier down beside her desk. Her son had finally fallen into an exhausted sleep, his breathing still slightly ragged. She touched his cheek gently before turning to her computer. Alana opened her phone's voice memo app first. "Thursday, September 15th, 4:37 p.m., she began, her voice clear and steady. "Documenting unlawful traffic stop by Sergeant Brent Daly and Officer Kyle Mercer." She detailed everything: the exact location, the officer's words, their actions, the threats. She described Daly's coffee breath, Mercer's flashlight beam, the way they'd positioned themselves to intimidate her. Next came photos. She used her phone's camera to capture the slight redness on her wrists where Daly had grabbed her. The marks weren't dramatic, but they were visible. She photographed Noah's reddened eyes, still puffy from crying, and made sure the timestamp showed on each image. Her fingers flew across her keyboard as she typed a detailed email to herself, copying every word from her voice memo and adding more details. The email would create a time-stamped record that couldn't be altered later. She knew how evidence could mysteriously disappear in cases involving police misconduct. Picking up her office phone, she dialed Chief Elena Hardwick's direct line. The chief's secretary tried to deflect her, but Alana used her state's attorney authority to get through. "Chief Hardwick," Alana said, keeping her tone professional despite her simmering anger, "I need all body cam footage from Officers Daly and Mercer preserved immediately from today's incident. I'm also requesting their dash cam footage and any surveillance from nearby traffic cameras." "Ms. Pierce," Hardwick sounded surprised. "What incident are we talking about?" "The one where your officers threatened to arrest me and take my baby over a fabricated DUI charge. I trust you'll make sure nothing happens to that footage?" There was a long pause. "I'll look into it personally," Hardwick finally said, her voice careful. "Though I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding." "The footage, Chief." "Today." Alana hung up and immediately called Internal Affairs, making the same preservation request. She knew from experience how footage could get accidentally deleted during sensitive investigations. Her cell phone buzzed, Judge Harold Whitaker returning her text. She'd worked with him for years, trusted his judgment. "Hold your cards close," his message read. "Document everything, but don't confront yet. Let them show their hand first." Noah stirred in his car seat, making small, distressed sounds. Alana lifted him out, cradling him against her shoulder as she called the nearest certified mechanic shop. "I need an inspection today," she told them. "Full documentation of all lights and safety features." They agreed to squeeze her in within the hour. She changed Noah's diaper and packed his bag, knowing she needed to move quickly. Just as she was heading for the door, someone knocked. Through the security camera feed on her phone, she saw two people in business casual attire standing on her porch. Their body language screamed, "Government workers." Alana's stomach clenched, but she wasn't surprised. She opened the door to find exactly what she'd expected: Child Protective Services. "Ms. Pierce?" The older woman showed her badge. "I'm Sandra Mitchell from CPS. This is my colleague Tom Rivera. We received an anonymous report about an incident today involving possible child endangerment." Alana kept her face neutral. "Please, come in." She led them to her living room, noting how they scanned everything: the clean floors, the baby gear, the legal books on the shelves. "We received a concerning report," Mitchell continued, pulling out a notepad. "The caller stated you appeared hysterical and possibly intoxicated during a traffic stop this afternoon, with an infant in the vehicle." "Interesting timing," Alana replied calmly. "I just finished documenting that unlawful stop with Internal Affairs. Would you like to see the evidence I've collected?" Rivera glanced at his partner. "We need to do a standard home inspection first. Check the baby's sleeping area, feeding supplies, general safety measures." "Of course." Alana showed them everything: Noah's nursery with its carefully organized changing station, the kitchen with clearly labeled breast milk storage, the baby-proofed electrical outlets. She answered their questions with practiced patience, knowing any sign of defensiveness would be noted in their report. They examined Noah, checking for marks or signs of neglect. Alana kept her anger contained as they photographed her son, reminding herself that these workers were just doing their job, even if they'd been manipulated into making this visit. "Everything appears to be in order," Mitchell finally said, though her tone suggested this wasn't the end. "However, given the nature of the report, we'll need to schedule a follow-up visit. And we may need to speak with Noah's pediatrician." "I have his doctor's number right here," Alana said smoothly, handing them a business card. "From our visit today, in fact. Please feel free to confirm that I brought him in for his scheduled checkup this afternoon." After they left, Alana held Noah close, breathing in his baby scent. He gurgled softly, his earlier distress forgotten. "We're going to fight this little man," she whispered against his curls. "But we're going to do it clean. They want us to lose control, to give them ammunition. We're smarter than that. We're going to do this by the book, and we're going to win." The morning sun cast long shadows across Tony's auto service as Alana pulled into the lot. She'd barely slept, spending most of the night reviewing statutes and precedents while Noah dozed in his bassinet beside her desk. Now, she balanced his car seat in one arm, while Tony Martinez, the shop owner, greeted her at the entrance. "Morning, Ms. Pierce," Tony said, wiping his hands on a red shop rag. "Got your message about the inspection. Want to walk me through what we're checking?" Alana set Noah's carrier down carefully in the clean waiting area. "I need full documentation of all lights and safety features. Photos, written report, everything, particularly the taillights." She kept her voice steady, professional. Tony nodded, already moving toward her car. "Those officers claimed your taillight was out?" "Among other things." She watched as he circled her vehicle, methodically testing each light. Noah stirred in his carrier, making small cooing sounds. "Well, that's interesting," Tony said, straightening up, "because every single light on this vehicle is working perfectly. Want to see for yourself?" Alana pulled out her phone and recorded video as Tony demonstrated each light: brake lights, turn signals, headlights, even the small bulb illuminating her license plate. Everything functioned exactly as it should. "I need that in writing," she said. "Official inspection report with photos." "Already on it." Tony headed to his computer. "But first, let me give the interior a quick vacuum." "No extra charge. Looks like your little one's been dropping crackers." Alana started to protest. She kept her car meticulously clean for Noah. But Tony was already pulling out an industrial vacuum. She lifted Noah from his carrier, supporting his head against her shoulder as she watched the mechanic work. Tony had barely started vacuuming under the driver's seat when he stopped abruptly. "Ms. Pierce?" His voice had changed, grown serious. "You need to see this." Alana's heart rate picked up as she approached, still holding Noah. Tony pointed to something wedged beneath the seat rail, a small plastic bag containing white powder. "Don't touch it," Alana said sharply, though Tony had already backed away. She pulled her phone out with her free hand and hit speed dial. "Jerry, it's Alana Pierce. I need you at Tony's Auto Service right now. Bring an evidence kit and camera." Jerry Thompson was her office's lead investigator, a former crime scene tech who'd helped her crack dozens of cases. While waiting for him, she called Judge Whitaker. "They planted drugs in your car?" The judge's voice was tight with controlled anger. "During the stop?" "It appears so," Alana replied, keeping her voice low as she paced the waiting room. "Jerry's on his way to document everything. You need to file for a court order immediately," Whitaker said. "Get their body cam footage before it mysteriously disappears. And Alana, watch your back. This just escalated from harassment to a felony." Jerry arrived within 15 minutes, his silver evidence kit in hand. He worked methodically, photographing the bag's position from multiple angles before carefully removing it with gloved hands. "Classic plant job," he muttered, sealing the bag in an evidence container, wedged just far enough under the rail that it wouldn't be visible during a casual search, but easy to discover if they wanted to make an arrest. Alana bounced Noah gently as she watched Jerry document everything. "I need the chain of custody perfect on this, Jerry. They'll try to claim contamination or mishandling." "They can try." Jerry's grin was fierce. "But I'm logging every second, every touch, every transfer. This evidence trail will be cleaner than a surgery room." While Jerry finished his work, Alana used her phone to draft an emergency motion. Her fingers flew across the screen as she composed the filing, demanding immediate production of body cam footage, dispatch logs, GPS data from the patrol car, and all shift notes from both officers. "I'll drive you to the courthouse," Jerry offered, carefully storing the evidence container in his locked briefcase. The courthouse halls were quiet this early, their footsteps echoing off marble floors. Alana pushed Noah's stroller with one hand while carrying her motion in the other. The file clerk looked up in surprise as she approached the window. "Emergency motion for production," Alana said, sliding the papers through the window. "I need this before Judge Chen right away." "Ms. Pierce?" The clerk frowned. "Don't you usually have your staff file these?" "This one's personal." She waited while the clerk stamped and processed the documents, then made copies. Every minute felt crucial. She knew how quickly evidence could vanish in police misconduct cases. The clerk handed back her copies. "Judge Chen's clerk says she can see you at 11. Alana checked her watch. 2 hours. She'd used the time to prepare her argument, anticipate their objections. She had to get this right. The evidence in Jerry's briefcase and the footage from those body cams could prove what really happened during that stop. She turned toward the courthouse exit, pushing Noah's stroller. Her heels clicked sharply against the floor, echoing her determination. The morning sun streamed through the high windows, catching the gold of her state's attorney badge. Her jaw was set, her spine straight. They had tried to trap her, to destroy her credibility and take her child. But she knew the law, knew how to fight within its boundaries. And she was just getting started. Back in her office, Alana settled Noah into his playpen next to her desk. She'd just finished reviewing Jerry's evidence report when her assistant knocked. "Ms. Pierce? This just came by courier." Sarah handed over a manila envelope marked "Urgent, Confidential." Alana opened it, her stomach tightening as she read. It was a toxicology report from County General Hospital dated yesterday, claiming she had refused a blood alcohol test after being brought in by Officers Daly and Mercer. The letterhead looked authentic, the medical terminology precise. "Sarah, get me hospital counsel on the line." Alana's voice was controlled, but her hands trembled slightly as she dialed. She'd been nowhere near County General yesterday. "Monica? Alana Pierce. I'm looking at what appears to be a toxicology report from your ER." She described the document while scanning it for tells. "Can you verify this for me?" There was keyboard clicking on the other end. "No record of you in our system yesterday, Alana. Let me check with the lab directly." More clicking. "Nothing. This has to be forged. Want me to send over an official statement?" "Please. And Monica? Document everyone who accessed the hospital's report templates in the last 48 hours. Hanging up, Alana pulled up her calendar from yesterday. There, she'd been leading a virtual training session on hate crime prosecution from 2 to 4 p.m., exactly when the fake report claimed she was refusing tests at County General. 23 ADAs had attended the Zoom. Perfect alibi. She was downloading the meeting attendance log when Pastor Ruth Cole knocked on her open door. The older woman's face creased with concern as she took in Alana's tense posture. "Sarah called me," Pastor Ruth said, settling into the chair across from Alana's desk. "Said you might need a friendly ear." Alana explained about the forged report, showing Pastor Ruth the document. The older woman studied it, shaking her head slowly. "They're getting desperate," Pastor Ruth said, "trying to paint you as unstable, unfit. But desperation makes people sloppy." She reached across the desk to pat Alana's hand. "You've got truth on your side, child, and truth has patience." "Patience?" Alana stood, pacing behind her desk. "They're escalating, Pastor. First the traffic stop, then CPS, planted drugs, now forged medical records. What's next? The higher they stack their lies, the harder they'll fall." Pastor Ruth's voice held the quiet authority of decades counseling families through crises. "Document everything. Build your case, brick by brick. Don't let them bait you into a mistake." Noah gurgled from his playpen, and Alana lifted him out, breathing in his baby scent. "I have to protect him. And you will. By fighting smart, not angry." Pastor Ruth stood, adjusting her cardigan. "Come to Wednesday night prayer meeting. The congregation should hear what's happening from you, not rumors." After Pastor Ruth left, Alana worked late into the evening, Noah dozing beside her as she documented timeline discrepancies between the fake report and her actual whereabouts. She was about to pack up when her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Ms. Pierce, you don't know me. I'm Amy Chen's roommate. Officer Mercer is dating Amy. Need to show you something important. Can prove it's real." Attached was a screenshot of text messages. Kyle. "Pulled the state's attorney today." Amy. "OMG, what happened?" Kyle. "Should have cuffed her. Would have been legendary." Amy. Crazy. She could get her fired." Kyle. "Nah, we got dirt on her now. She'll back off." Alana's hands were steady as she texted back, "How did you get this?" Amy left her phone unlocked. "I saw the texts. She's been bragging about dating a cop. But this isn't right. Can we meet?" Alana considered. This could be another trap. But the texts matched the timeline perfectly. "Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Sunrise Diner on Oak Street. Public place, security cameras. I'll be there. Table by the window, wearing red sweater." Alana looked at the screenshot again. Mercer's cockiness might be their undoing. But she needed to verify the texts were genuine. Understand this roommate's motivation. She texted Sarah to clear her morning schedule, then began researching Amy Chen and her roommate. Noah stirred, making small, hungry sounds. As she prepared his bottle, Alana ran through her mental checklist. Verify the roommate's identity, bring a witness to the meeting, record everything. The texts could be crucial evidence, or another elaborate setup. She settled into the nursing chair, cradling Noah as he drank. His tiny hand curled around her finger, trusting, dependent. The weight of her responsibility pressed down, not just to him, but to every parent who'd been harassed, every citizen bullied by those sworn to protect them. "We'll get through this, sweet boy," she whispered, stroking his cheek. "Mama's going to make sure those bad men can't hurt anyone else." The city lights twinkled beyond her office window as she rocked Noah, reviewing her notes for tomorrow's meeting. Each piece of evidence was a thread: the planted drugs, the forged report, and now these texts. Slowly but surely, she was weaving together the rope that would hang them with their own actions. The Sunrise Diner buzzed with morning regulars when Alana arrived at 7:45 a.m. She'd positioned Detective Marcus by the counter and two plainclothes officers at separate tables. Through the window, she spotted a young Asian woman in a red sweater, nervously checking her phone. Alana smoothed her blazer and entered, scanning the room before approaching. "Ms. Chen's roommate? Jenny Wu." The woman's hands trembled slightly as she pulled out her phone. "I brought everything." Alana settled into the booth, positioning herself to see both exits. A waitress approached, but Alana waved her off. "Show me." Jenny unlocked her phone and pulled up the text thread. "Amy leaves her phone everywhere. She thinks it's cute how Kyle brags about his stops." She scrolled through weeks of messages, but this one felt different. Wrong. Alana studied the timestamps, noting how they aligned perfectly with her traffic stop. The metadata looked authentic, no signs of manipulation. "Why are you showing me this?" Jenny's voice dropped. "My brother got arrested last year. Resisting arrest, they said. But he was just walking home from work." She twisted a paper napkin. "They planted drugs in his backpack, just like they tried with you. The same officers? Different ones, but same unit." Jenny glanced around nervously. "Amy says Kyle's sergeant keeps a board in his office, tallies for stops, more points for certain types of people." Alana's jaw tightened. "I'll need copies of everything. And you understand this makes you a witness? That's why I'm here." Jenny pulled out a USB drive. "I backed up all the texts, plus screenshots of Amy's social media where she talks about Kyle's stops. But I need protection. Amy will know it was me. We can arrange that." Alana texted Detective Marcus, who casually approached their table. "Ms. Wu, I'm Detective Marcus. We have a safe house ready if needed." He handed her a card. "Call this number any time." After Jenny left with Marcus, Alana headed to the courthouse. She'd barely settled at her desk when Sarah poked her head in. "Dev Patel is here for your 9:30. A lanky man in his early 30s bounded in, laptop under one arm. "Ms. Pierce, thanks for meeting me. The university's digital forensics lab is totally at your disposal." Alana gestured him to sit. "Professor Harrison recommended you highly. Said you're the best at authenticating digital evidence." Authenticating, tracking, recovering. It's like solving puzzles. Dev opened his laptop, fingers flying across the keys. "I heard about your situation. Classic abuse of power using technology against truth-tellers. Can you verify these texts?" Alana handed him the USB drive. Dev plugged it in, his eager expression turning focused as he worked. "Metadata's clean. No signs of manipulation in the file structure or timestamps." He pulled up several windows of code. "See these server signatures? They match Twitter's actual protocols. And the GPS data embedded in the photos matches the cell tower pings. So they're genuine?" 100%. Dev's eyes lit up. Even better. The location data puts Officer Mercer's phone at your traffic stop. Proves he was there, corroborating your account. Alana leaned forward. Could you verify other digital evidence? We may be dealing with falsified reports, altered timestamps. That's my specialty. Dev pulled up his credentials. I literally wrote my dissertation on detecting digital forgeries in legal documents. Let me guess, they're using department templates to create fake reports? Exactly. Hospital letterhead, official forms. Amateur hour. Dev cracked his knuckles. Every printer leaves microscopic patterns. Every template has digital fingerprints. Give me access to the originals. I'll prove what's real and what's fabricated. Alana studied him. His enthusiasm was genuine, his expertise evident. I'm filing a supplemental motion this morning. Would you be willing to testify about the authenticity of these texts? Try and stop me. Dev grinned. Nothing better than using science to expose corruption. They spent the next hour reviewing technical details for the motion. Dev's analysis would prove crucial, not just for the texts, but for unraveling the whole pattern of falsified documents. As Dev packed up, Alana's phone buzzed. Internal Affairs. Pierce. Ma'am, this is Lieutenant Wong. We've secured the body cam footage from Officers Daly and Mercer per your request. Files are preserved and backed up off-site. Finally, some good news. Any attempts to access or alter them? Yes, ma'am. Someone tried to log in at 3 a.m. using Sergeant Daly's credentials. System flagged it as suspicious activity. Document everything, Alana instructed. I'm filing for an emergency hearing. Already done. Judge Whitaker can see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Alana hung up and immediately began preparing her argument. The pieces were falling into place. The texts, the body cam footage, Dev's technical analysis. She had hard evidence of their attempted cover-up. Sarah appeared with coffee. Judge Whitaker's clerk called. They're adding your hearing to tomorrow's docket. Thanks. Alana sipped the coffee, reviewing her notes. Has CPS confirmed their representative will attend? Yes, and hospital counsel will be there to verify the forged report. Alana nodded, squaring her shoulders. Tomorrow would be crucial. Her chance to expose not just the traffic stop, but the whole pattern of harassment and false documentation. She had science and truth on her side now. Her phone buzzed with a text from Dev. Running deep analysis on those files. Found something interesting in the metadata. Call you later. She smiled slightly. The tide was turning, but she kept Pastor Ruth's words in mind. Patience, precision, preparation. Build the case brick by brick until their house of lies collapsed under its own weight. The courthouse hummed with tension as Alana entered courtroom 3. Judge Whitaker sat behind his elevated bench, reading through motion papers with practiced care. Officers Daly and Mercer slouched in their seats beside their union lawyer, Mr. Grayson, who kept checking his phone with obvious irritation. Alana settled at the prosecutor's table, arranging her files with deliberate precision. Dev sat behind her with his laptop, ready to testify about the text message's authenticity. Detective Marcus had positioned himself near the door, watchful for any disturbance. Judge Whitaker looked up, his wire-rimmed glasses catching the morning light. We're here on the state's motion to compel production of evidence related to a traffic stop involving the state's attorney. He fixed the officers with a stern gaze. Mr. Grayson, your objections? The union lawyer stood, straightening his tie. Your Honor, this is a fishing expedition. A routine traffic stop is being blown out of proportion for political purposes. A routine stop where officers allegedly planted narcotics and filed false reports? Judge Whitaker's voice carried quiet authority. Where a Child Protective Services complaint materialized within hours. Allegations without proof, Your Honor. Alana rose. We have proof, Your Honor. if we can access the evidence being withheld. The department's own GPS data will show the exact location and duration of the stop. Body cam footage will reveal what really happened, and their productivity logs will demonstrate a pattern of discriminatory enforcement. Pattern? Grayson scoffed. One incident, hardly. Not one incident. Alana pulled out Jenny Wu's statement. We have testimony about a quota board in Sergeant Daly's office, tally marks for stops in specific neighborhoods, points awarded for certain demographics. Judge Whitaker leaned forward. Serious allegations, Mr. Grayson. Why shouldn't I grant access to verify or disprove them? Department confidentiality, Your Honor. Internal procedures. Don't supersede due process or equal protection. The judge removed his glasses. Motion granted. The department will provide complete copies of all body cam footage, dispatch recordings, automated vehicle locator data, and productivity records for the past 6 months. Additionally, the substance found in State's Attorney Pierce's vehicle will be tested by the State Crime Lab. Daly's face darkened. Mercer shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Furthermore, Judge Whitaker continued, I want all stop data for the past year. Times, locations, demographics, outcomes, and photographs of any boards, charts, or tracking systems in the department offices. He fixed Daly with a stern look. Any attempt to alter or destroy evidence will result in immediate sanctions. Your Honor, Grayson protested. Collecting all this will take weeks. 24 hours. The judge's tone brooked no argument. I'm ordering the IT department to assist. Everything goes to Ms. Pierce's office by noon tomorrow. He banged his gavel. Next case. Back in her office, Alana coordinated with her team. Dev set up multiple screens to process the incoming data. Sarah arranged for secure storage. Detective Marcus stationed officers to observe the evidence collection. By noon the next day, hard drives started arriving. Dev dove in immediately, his fingers flying across keyboards as he organized the files. Got the body cam footage first, he called out, running facial recognition to track patterns. Alana studied the vehicle locator maps. Red dots showed where Daly and Mercer had conducted stops, heavily clustered in predominantly black neighborhoods. Cross-reference these locations with census data, she instructed Dev. Already on it. He pulled up another screen. Check this out. Their productivity logs show spike in successful stops whenever they work predominantly black areas. But the contraband hit rate is actually lower there. Sarah brought in photos from the department offices. There it was. Daly's whiteboard, partially erased but still visible. Columns labeled with crude nicknames, tally marks grouped by location and race. Got the stop demographic data compiled, Dev announced hours later. He projected a map onto the wall. Red dots glowed across black neighborhoods, forming clear patterns. Blue dots marked stops in white areas, significantly fewer, despite higher population density. Can you overlay that with income data? Alana asked. Dev typed rapidly. New colors bloomed across the map. See these clusters? They're targeting lower-income black neighborhoods almost exclusively, avoiding wealthy white areas completely. Alana studied the glowing patterns, each dot representing someone's life disrupted, dignity violated. The evidence was undeniable. Systematic targeting laid bare in cold data. There's more, Dev said. Remember those hospital reports they forged? Found metadata showing they were created using templates stolen from an administrator's computer. Timestamps prove they were backdated. The lab results arrived next. The substance from Alana's car was indeed narcotics, but the bag showed only 2 sets of fingerprints. Both matched department-issued gloves. Classic plant job, Detective Marcus observed. They didn't even bother being careful about it. Alana gathered her team. The data told a clear story. Not just about her stop, but about years of systematic harassment targeting black residents. Each dot on the map represented someone who'd faced what she had, but without her resources to fight back. The glowing patterns on Dev's screen seemed to pulse with accusation. Red clusters where children grew up learning to fear police. Blue spaces where others lived free from harassment. A map of injustice rendered in stark digital clarity. Sarah brought in another set of files. Hospital Council sent over more forged reports. They found 5 other cases with similar falsified documentation. Alana nodded grimly. The evidence was overwhelming. Not just against 2 officers, but against an entire system of targeted harassment. The data spoke volumes, each point of light on Dev's map a voice demanding justice. The community center buzzed with energy as people filled every chair, lined the walls, and spilled into the hallway. Pastor Ruth stood at the podium, her silver hair gleaming under fluorescent lights. Behind her, a projection screen displayed Dev's map of traffic stops, its red dots burning like wounds across black neighborhoods. "We've been silent too long," Pastor Ruth declared, her voice carrying to the back of the room. "Each dot on this map is someone's child, someone's parent, someone's neighbor. Today, we speak their names." Alana sat in the front row, Noah sleeping against her chest in a baby carrier. She watched as Pastor Ruth called the first speaker. Mrs. Washington, 73 years old, gripped her cane as she approached the microphone. "2 months ago, Sergeant Daly stopped my grandson. Said his taglight was out." Her voice trembled but grew stronger. "Made him lay face down on wet pavement while they searched his car. Found nothing, of course. But my grandson, he won't drive at night anymore." More stories followed. Mr. Jenkins described being pulled over 3 times in 1 week. Ms. Taylor recounted how Daly had mocked her daughter's natural hair during a stop. Each testimony built on the last, painting a picture of systematic harassment. "My Marcus was stopped last year," Mrs. Robinson said, her church hat quivering as she spoke. "Officer Daly said he fit a description. My boy was coming from chess club, wearing his school uniform. He's 13. She dabbed her eyes. "Now he walks everywhere. Won't get his driver's permit." Pastor Ruth nodded gravely. "We've heard your pain. Now we act." She unveiled her plan. "Starting tomorrow, we launch the Witness Vigil. Every corner where they target our children, we'll be there. Lawn chairs, cell phones, notebooks. Recording everything." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. An elderly man raised his hand. "Won't they arrest us? For sitting? For watching?" Pastor Ruth's smile held steel. "We have every right to observe from public property. Ms. Pierce has confirmed it." Alana stood, careful not to wake Noah. "The First Amendment protects your right to record police in public spaces. Document everything: times, locations, officer names. Your testimony matters." Sign-up sheets circulated. Elder pairs chose their corners, coordinated shifts. Pastor Ruth distributed bright yellow vests with "Community Witness" printed boldly across the back. "We're not protesters," she emphasized. "We're observers, peaceful, quiet, dignified. But we will not look away." The next morning, lawn chairs appeared on street corners across the city. Elderly couples sat quietly, phones and notepads ready. When patrol cars cruised past, cameras recorded. When stops occurred, witnesses documented. By noon, local news vans arrived. Community elders' launch silent vigil against police bias ran across the bottom of screens. Reporters interviewed Pastor Ruth, who spoke with measured clarity about the data and testimony. "We're here because we love our children," she told the cameras, "because every parent deserves to know their child will come home safely." The police union responded with predictable outrage. But it was hard to spin angry rhetoric against images of grandmothers in lawn chairs, quietly knitting while they watched. Chief Hardwick called an emergency press conference. In light of concerning allegations, Officers Daly and Mercer have been reassigned to administrative duty pending investigation, she announced stiffly. The department takes accusations of bias seriously. More media coverage followed. The local paper ran a front-page story analyzing Dev's stop data. National outlets picked up the story of the witness vigil. Photographs of elderly observers in their yellow vests went viral. "Look at this," Sarah said, showing Alana her phone. "Twitter's calling them the guardian grandparents. People are sending lawn chairs from across the country." The witnesses themselves remained steadfast. Through rain and heat, they maintained their quiet presence. Mrs. Washington brought thermoses of sweet tea to share. Mr. Jenkins distributed umbrellas when clouds threatened. "Had an interesting morning," Detective Marcus reported, dropping off new files. Daly tried intimidating some of the witnesses on Cedar Street. Mrs. Robinson just smiled and waved her phone at him, called him sugar, and offered him a cookie. More officers came forward privately, describing the quota system and Daly's influence. The police union's aggressive defense began to crack as evidence mounted. A week into the vigil, Pastor Ruth hosted another community meeting. The room was even more crowded than before. "In 7 days," she announced, "we've documented 37 stops. 0 contraband found. But something else happened. Stops in our neighborhoods dropped by 60%. Applause thundered. She raised her hands for quiet. More importantly, our young people see us standing up. They know they're not alone. She gestured to the yellow vests hanging by the door. We're not just watching the police. We're watching over our children. That evening, Alana sat in Noah's nursery, rocking him gently. Through the window, she could see Mrs. Washington and Mr. Jenkins in their lawn chairs across the street, yellow vests glowing in the sunset. They waved when they spotted her. Noah's breathing grew steady against her chest. For the first time since the stop, she felt the tight knot in her stomach begin to loosen. The witnesses had transformed fear into dignity, isolation into solidarity. Each lawn chair represented someone saying, "Not here, not anymore. We see you." She hummed softly to Noah, feeling him drift deeper into sleep. Outside, more witnesses arrived for the evening shift, setting up their chairs with quiet determination. The momentum was building, driven not by anger, but by love. Love for their children, their community, their future. Mrs. Robinson's voice drifted up from below, sharing gossip with her corner partner. Noah stirred slightly, then settled. Alana kept rocking, watching the witnesses maintain their peaceful vigil as darkness fell. The video hit social media like a bomb. Alana first saw it during a morning briefing when her assistant Sarah burst in, phone trembling in her hand. "You need to see this," Sarah whispered, turning the screen toward her. The footage showed Alana's car at the traffic stop. But something was wrong. In this version, she appeared to be screaming and flailing at the officers, her voice distorted with rage. The camera angle kept shifting, the audio scratchy and hostile. "You racist pigs!" the video Alana shrieked. "Do you know who I am? I'll destroy your careers." Alana's stomach turned to ice. "That never happened. That's not—" "It's everywhere," Sarah said. "Twitter, Facebook, local news sites. The police union just released a statement calling for your resignation." Alana watched in horror as her digital double continued ranting, apparently threatening the officers while baby Noah wailed in the background. The real memory of that day flashed through her mind, her careful stillness, her measured words, her desperate need to protect her son. She grabbed her phone, dialing Dev Patel's number with shaking fingers. "Dev, I need you. Now!" Within an hour, Dev had commandeered a conference room, his laptop connected to multiple screens. He played the video frame by frame, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he muttered technical terms. "Look here," he said, pointing to a shadow pattern. "The sun angle changes between cuts, and here," he isolated the audio track. "This segment repeats exactly. Perfect digital copies. Real speech has micro-variations." Alana leaned closer. "Can you prove it's fake?" "Already working on it. The metadata shows manipulation timestamps. Plus, there's pixel artifacts around your mouth when—" His phone buzzed. "Hang on, breaking news alert." Alana's phone lit up simultaneously. Her heart stopped as she read the headline. State's attorney's mental health records leaked. Postpartum depression raises questions of fitness. The room spun. Her private medical records, therapy sessions, medication adjustments, the raw vulnerability of new motherhood, splashed across screens for public consumption. The article quoted anonymous sources within the police union, expressing grave concerns about her stability. Sarah appeared in the doorway, face pale. "CPS is on line 1. They're demanding an emergency custody hearing, citing concerns about Noah's safety." Dev swore under his breath, fingers moving faster. "This is coordinated." The video drops, then the medical leak. "They're trying to bury you." Alana gripped the edge of the table, forcing air into her lungs. She thought of Noah at daycare, innocent and unaware. Her baby. Their target. "The video first," she managed. "Prove it's fake. Everything else follows from that." Dev nodded grimly. "Already identified 3 separate AI markers. The audio splicing is amateur work. They rushed it. Give me 2 hours to compile the forensics report." Her phone buzzed again. A text from Pastor Ruth. "Press gathering outside. They have the video. Coming to you now." Alana straightened her jacket, checked her reflection. The woman in the mirror looked composed, professional. Only her eyes betrayed the terror beneath. "Sarah, get me Judge Whitaker's clerk. Dev, send what you have as soon as it's ready. I'm going to face them." The press had already formed a gauntlet by the courthouse steps. Cameras flashed like strobe lights as Alana emerged, Pastor Ruth appearing at her side as if by magic. "State's Attorney Pierce, is this your true character? Did you threaten those officers? Are you mentally fit to serve? Should you have custody of your child?" The questions hit like physical blows. Alana approached the microphones, Pastor Ruth's steady presence anchoring her. "The video circulating online is a manufactured fraud," she stated clearly. "Digital forensics experts are currently documenting the technical evidence of manipulation. As for my private medical records, which were illegally obtained and released, I will say this. Yes, like many new mothers, I sought support during the postpartum period. That choice reflects responsibility, not weakness. But the video," a reporter started, "shows exactly what certain parties want you to see," Alana cut in. "Ask yourselves, why would someone need to create fake evidence if real misconduct existed? Why attack not just my career, but my role as a mother?" Pastor Ruth stepped forward. "We've seen these tactics before. When truth threatens power, power attacks truth. But we stand with State's Attorney Pierce. And we've got receipts?" More questions flew, but Alana was already moving, Pastor Ruth clearing her path. In her office she found Dev waiting with his preliminary report. "Got it," he said. "Frame-by-frame breakdown, forensic markers, timestamp analysis. They used basic AI tools, probably hoped to cause damage before anyone could verify." Alana nodded, already mentally preparing for the CPS hearing. Her phone buzzed with a message from Judge Whitaker's clerk. "Emergency conference in chambers. 1 hour." She gathered her files. Dev's report, her original stop documentation, witness statements from the vigil. Each piece of paper represented another brick in the wall of truth she was building. "Sarah," she called. Get me the hospital's privacy compliance officer. We need to track down the source of that records leak. Her assistant nodded, already dialing. Pastor Ruth squeezed Alana's shoulder. They're scared, the older woman said softly, using all their ammunition at once. Desperate people make mistakes. Alana thought of Noah, of his trusting eyes and innocent smile. She thought of every mother who'd testified at the vigil, of their children growing up in fear. She thought of Daly's smirk during the stop, his casual certainty that the system would believe him over her. They should be scared, she replied, her voice steady. Because we have something they don't. What's that? Pastor Ruth asked. The truth, Alana said, straightening her spine. And witnesses. Judge Martinez's courtroom buzzed with tension as Alana stood at the podium, her motion for an emergency evidentiary hearing clutched in steady hands. The gallery behind her was packed. Pastor Ruth and community elders on one side, uniformed officers on the other. Your Honor, Alana began, the viral video purporting to show my conduct during a routine traffic stop is a manufactured fraud. I have an expert witness prepared to demonstrate the technical evidence of manipulation. The police union's attorney, Marcus Green, rose to object. Your Honor, the state's attorney is merely attempting to discredit clear evidence of her unstable behavior. Clear evidence? Alana's voice remained measured. Then, the department won't object to producing the original body cam footage for comparison. Judge Martinez leaned forward. Mr. Green, does the department have any objection to releasing the original footage? Green shuffled his papers. The footage is part of an ongoing internal investigation. Into what? Alana interrupted. The officers' conduct during my stop, or their subsequent attempts to discredit me? The judge raised her hand. Let's hear from your expert, Ms. Pierce. Dev approached the witness stand, his laptop and presentation equipment already set up. He took the oath and settled into the chair, adjusting his glasses with familiar precision. Please state your credentials, Alana requested. I'm Dr. Dev Patel, Director of Digital Forensics at the State University. I hold PhDs in computer science and digital media analysis, with a specialization in detecting manipulated video content. And what did your analysis of this viral video reveal? Dev clicked his laptop, projecting the controversial footage onto the courtroom screen. I identified multiple markers of artificial manipulation. First, observe the shadow patterns. He froze a frame, highlighting inconsistencies. The sun angle changes between cuts, impossible in a continuous recording. Second, the audio track contains identical repeated segments. He played a waveform display. Human speech has natural variations. These segments are perfect digital copies, a clear sign of synthetic audio creation. Green stood again. Your Honor, this is speculation. If I may, Dev interrupted politely, I can demonstrate the exact timestamps of manipulation in the video's metadata. Additionally, the AI artifacts around the mouth movements are consistent with current deepfake technology. For the next 30 minutes, Dev methodically dismantled the video's authenticity. He showed compression patterns, pixel inconsistencies, and temporal anomalies that proved deliberate tampering. The judge studied the evidence carefully. Mr. Green, the department has 24 hours to produce the original body cam footage. Your Honor. 24 hours, she repeated firmly. And Ms. Pierce, regarding the CPS petition. Alana straightened. This was what mattered most. Noah. Given the questions raised about the video's authenticity, I'm ordering CPS to delay any custody recommendations until all evidence has been properly reviewed. Relief flooded through Alana, though her expression remained professional. Thank you, Your Honor. Additionally, the judge continued, I want to address the leaked medical records. Mr. Green, inform your clients that any further unauthorized release of private information will result in sanctions. In the gallery, Pastor Ruth squeezed the hand of the elderly woman next to her. Several community members nodded in approval. Court will reconvene tomorrow at 2 p.m. to review the original footage, Judge Martinez declared, bringing down her gavel. As the courtroom cleared, Alana gathered her materials while Dev packed up his equipment. Sarah appeared at her side with updates. The hospital's compliance team traced the records leak, she whispered. They're preparing a report. Alana nodded, watching Green huddle with several uniformed officers near the door. Their body language spoke volumes: tense shoulders, sharp gestures, lowered voices. Ms. Pierce. Dev's voice pulled her attention back. There's something else in the metadata. A digital signature that might identify which software was used to create the fake. Can you trace it? Working on it. The program seems to be registered to a department computer. Pastor Ruth approached, her face concerned. Child Services called my office. They want character witness statements from the community. Good, Alana replied. Get statements from the vigil participants, too. Every parent who's been targeted by that unit. The courthouse hallway was crowded as they left the courtroom. Reporters shouted questions, but Alana kept moving, her team forming a protective circle around her. Near the elevator, she spotted Sergeant Daly leaning against the wall. His smirk was familiar, the same one he'd worn during the traffic stop. Officer Mercer stood slightly behind him, studying the floor tiles with unusual intensity. A courthouse deputy approached, holding several hard drives. State's Attorney Pierce, these just arrived from the department. The body cam footage you requested. Alana accepted the drives, noting the evidence tags and seals. She felt Daly's eyes on her, his smirk widening slightly. Mercer shifted his weight, still avoiding eye contact. His discomfort was palpable, a crack in the blue wall that might widen under pressure. Sarah, get these to Dev's lab, Alana instructed, passing over the drives. I want them analyzed before tomorrow's hearing. Pastor Ruth touched her arm. Come to dinner tonight. The community should see you. Remind them what we're fighting for. Alana checked her phone. A photo from Noah's daycare showed him napping peacefully, tiny fist clutching his favorite blanket. Everything she did, every motion filed and battle fought, was for his future. I'll be there, she told Pastor Ruth, after I visit my son. They headed for the elevator, leaving Daly with his hollow smirk, and Mercer with his guilty gaze. The true footage would tell its story tomorrow. For now, Alana had statements to gather, evidence to analyze, and a baby boy who needed his mother's arms around him. The church basement hummed with quiet determination as elderly members of the congregation filed in, clutching folders, envelopes, and various digital storage devices. Metal folding chairs scraped against the linoleum floor as Pastor Ruth guided people to their seats. The fluorescent lights cast a harsh glow over the gathering, but the atmosphere remained warm and purposeful. Alana sat at a card table near the front, her laptop open and a legal pad ready. Sarah, her assistant, organized incoming statements while Dev set up a portable drive reader. The smell of coffee and fresh-baked cookies wafted from a side table where church volunteers had set up refreshments. Mrs. Washington, a retired school teacher in her 70s, approached first. Her hands trembled slightly as she placed a manila envelope on the table. I've kept every interaction documented since 2015, she said, her voice steady despite her shaking hands. 3 stops by Sergeant Daly, all on my way to Sunday service. Alana opened the envelope, finding meticulous notes written in precise teacher's handwriting. Dates, times, weather conditions, exact quotes, all carefully preserved. He told me my car was too nice for someone from my neighborhood. Mrs. Washington recalled. Said maybe I should stick to the bus where I belong? Same thing he said to me, Mr. Turner called out from his seat. The Korean War veteran pushed his walker forward, producing a small notebook from his jacket pocket. Kept track of every stop since my wife passed. Daly always used the same lines, like he had a script. One by one, they came forward. Each story echoed the others, the same casual cruelty, the same racist implications, the same abuse of power. Pastor Ruth moved among them, squeezing shoulders and offering encouragement as painful memories surfaced. "He pulled my grandson over last month," Mrs. Carter said, her voice cracking. "Used those exact words about welfare and nice cars. My grandson's a pediatric surgeon." A retired postal worker, Mr. James, approached with particular care. He carried a wooden box, worn smooth with age. "My daddy was a carpenter," he explained, setting it down gently. "Made this to keep important things safe." Inside the box, wrapped in soft cloth, was a USB drive. "I worked the late shift, delivering mail to the police station," Mr. James continued. "Found this in the trash one night, back in 2019. It's dash cam footage they thought they'd deleted." Dev carefully connected the drive to his laptop. The footage was pristine. Clear video, clean audio. On screen, Daly's face appeared, younger, but wearing the same smirk. His voice came through with perfect clarity as he harassed a young black mother, using nearly identical language to what he'd used with Alana. "There's more, Mr. James said quietly. "Hours of it. I kept making copies whenever I found them tossing footage. Figured somebody would need it someday." Pastor Ruth placed a hand on his shoulder. "The Lord works in mysterious ways, Brother James. You were his instrument of truth." More evidence emerged as the evening progressed. Mrs. Liu, who ran the convenience store across from the police station, had kept her security cameras rolling for years. "They stop people in my parking lot," she explained. "I save everything." A former dispatcher brought printed radio logs. A retired crossing guard had photographs. Each piece added to the pattern, building an irrefutable record of systematic harassment. "He told my daughter she must be a drug dealer," Ms. Robinson said, her voice tight with anger. "She was driving home from chemotherapy. Still had the hospital bracelet on." Alana and Sarah worked steadily, documenting each statement, copying files, organizing evidence. Dev analyzed the digital content, confirming authenticity and establishing clear chains of custody. The timestamps matched department records, he noted, comparing Mr. James's footage with official logs. "This is genuine dash cam video, using their own equipment and encoding." Pastor Ruth moved to the center of the room, raising her hands for attention. "Brothers and sisters, I know this isn't easy. Reliving these moments, speaking these truths, it takes courage. But look around this room. Look at how many of us there are. Look at how long we've been keeping watch." The elderly members nodded, some wiping tears, others sitting straighter in their chairs. They had been witnesses all along, quietly documenting, patiently waiting for this moment. "Some folks think we're just old folks in rocking chairs," Pastor Ruth continued. "They don't know we're warriors for justice. They don't know we've been building this case one piece at a time, year after year." Alana closed her laptop, overwhelmed by the weight of trust these people had placed in her. Their careful documentation, their years of quiet resistance, their refusal to accept defeat. It was all there in the binder before her. Mrs. Washington brought her a fresh cup of coffee. "We knew someone like you would come along eventually," she said softly. "Someone who could use all this to make things right." "I won't let you down," Alana promised, accepting the cup. "Oh, we know that, dear," Mrs. Washington smiled. "That's why we're all here." As the meeting wound down, Pastor Ruth helped Alana gather the materials into her briefcase. The binder was thick with statements, the hard drives secure in their protective cases. Tomorrow's court session loomed, but tonight had provided something beyond mere evidence. It had revealed a community's quiet strength. "These people," Alana said, watching the elders help each other with coats and walkers, "they never gave up." "They're like the old prophets," Pastor Ruth replied, "keeping the records, bearing witness, waiting for the day of reckoning. Now, it's your turn to carry their testimony forward." Alana lifted her briefcase, feeling the weight of years of documented injustice inside. Every statement, every video, every piece of evidence represented someone's moment of humiliation transformed into an act of resistance. Tomorrow, in court, their voices would finally be heard. The courtroom's oak panels absorbed the morning light as Judge Whitaker called the session to order. Alana sat at the prosecutor's table, her evidence binder open before her. In the gallery, Pastor Ruth and several church elders filled the first row, their presence a quiet reminder of last night's revelations. Marcus Chen, the police department's IT systems administrator, took the stand. His shoulders were tense as he adjusted his tie, clearly uncomfortable with what he had to reveal. "Mr. Chen," Alana began, standing at the podium, "please explain what you discovered when examining Officer Mercer's body cam footage from the traffic stop." Chen cleared his throat. The original file was deleted at 9:47 p.m. on the night of the incident. A new file was uploaded at 11:23 p.m. from an IP address belonging to the police union office downtown. And how does this replacement compare to the original? The metadata shows extensive editing. Audio tracks were spliced. Video frames were manipulated. It's not even a particularly sophisticated job. They were clearly in a hurry. From the defense table, the police union's lawyer objected. "Speculation, Your Honor." "Overruled," Judge Whitaker replied. "Continue, Mr. Chen." Chen pulled up a technical analysis on the courtroom screen. "See these timestamp discrepancies? And these compression artifacts? Classic signs of tampering. We found similar patterns in several other files from Sergeant Daly's unit." Dev Patel approached the stand next, his tablet connected to the court's display system. His usual enthusiasm was tempered by professional gravity as he took the oath. "Dr. Patel," Alana addressed him, "what did you find when analyzing the traffic camera footage from the intersection?" Dev pulled up a video showing Alana's car being pulled over. The angle was clear, the timestamp matching the incident. The traffic cam shows Ms. Pierce remaining calm throughout the encounter. There's no evidence of the aggressive behavior shown in the viral video. He played the footage. The courtroom watched as Alana followed all instructions, her movements deliberate and controlled. Even when forced against her car, her demeanor remained professional. "Furthermore," Dev continued, "I analyzed the viral video frame by frame." He split the screen, showing both versions side by side. "Notice the shadows? In the fake version, they don't match the actual time of day. The sun angle is off by several hours." The CPS representative shifted uncomfortably in her seat, taking notes. Her earlier certainty about Alana's fitness seemed to be wavering as the evidence mounted. Judge Whitaker leaned forward. "Dr. Patel, in your expert opinion, could these discrepancies be technical glitches?" "No, Your Honor. These are intentional alterations. Someone deliberately created a false narrative." The police union lawyer stood for cross-examination, but his questions only highlighted Dev's expertise. Each challenge was met with clear, technical explanations that further exposed the manipulation. During a brief recess, Alana stood in the courthouse hallway, reviewing her notes. Pastor Ruth brought her a cup of water, patting her arm encouragingly. "Truth always finds its way to the light," she whispered. The elderly witnesses from the church basement sat quietly in the gallery, their presence a testament to years of systematic abuse finally being exposed. Mrs. Washington had brought her grandson, the pediatric surgeon, who nodded respectfully at Alana. Dev was packing up his equipment when Officer Mercer appeared at the edge of the crowd. He looked younger somehow, his earlier cockiness replaced by obvious anxiety. His eyes darted between Alana and his union representatives. Mercer approached Jerry Thompson, Alana's lead investigator, who was standing near the water fountain. Their conversation was brief, barely more than a whisper, but Thompson's expression changed subtly. He glanced at Alana, giving her a meaningful look. The hallway buzzed with quiet conversations. The CPS worker was conferring with her supervisor, gesturing at her notes. The police union lawyers huddled in a corner, their faces grim. Judge Whitaker's clerk emerged to announce a 5-minute warning before resumption. Alana felt a small surge of hope. The technical evidence had landed solid blows against the department's credibility. The fake video, the deleted body cam footage, the traffic cam proof, it all painted a clear picture of deliberate deception. She thought of Noah, safe at home with her mother. The CPS representative's softening stance suggested the threat to her custody was weakening. Still, she knew better than to celebrate too early. There were more battles ahead. Thompson made his way over to her, his expression carefully neutral. "Ms. Pierce," he said quietly, "Officer Mercer just approached me. Says he needs to talk." He glanced around to ensure no one was within earshot. Seemed pretty anxious about it. Alana kept her face composed, though her heart rate quickened. She'd seen that look before, during her public defender days. The look of someone ready to break ranks. The bailiff called for everyone to return to the courtroom. As people filed back in, Alana noticed Mercer hanging back, his face pale. He was watching Sergeant Daly, who sat confidently at the defense table, seemingly unconcerned by the morning's revelations. Pastor Ruth touched Alana's elbow as they walked back in. "Remember what my grandmother used to say," she murmured. "The mighty oak doesn't fear the wind. It just keeps growing straight and true." The elderly witnesses resumed their seats, a quiet chorus of creaking joints and shuffling feet. They had waited years for this moment, documenting every interaction, preserving every piece of evidence. Now, their patience was finally bearing fruit. Alana straightened her jacket and returned to the prosecutor's table. The next phase of testimony would begin soon, but Mercer's whispered request hung in the air like a promise. She opened her binder, ready to continue. After the recess, tension filled the courtroom as Officer Kyle Mercer took the stand. His uniform looked stiff and uncomfortable, his posture rigid with anxiety. The young officer's eyes darted between Alana, Judge Whitaker, and Sergeant Daly, who sat glaring from the defense table. "Officer Mercer," Alana began, keeping her voice steady, "you've asked to testify today under subpoena. Is that correct?" "Yes, ma'am." His voice cracked slightly. He cleared his throat and adjusted the microphone. "Please tell the court about the events leading up to my traffic stop." Mercer's hands fidgeted with his collar. "That morning, Sergeant Daly called me into his office. He showed me your photo, said you were the new state's attorney, said we needed to send a message before you could implement any reforms." The police union lawyer jumped up. "Objection! Hearsay!" "Your Honor," Alana countered, "this goes directly to establishing conspiracy and premeditation." Judge Whitaker nodded. "Overruled. Continue, Officer Mercer." "Sergeant Daly had a small bag of—" Mercer paused, swallowing hard. "Of narcotics. He told me to plant it during the stop. Said we'd give her a choice between her baby and handcuffs. Those were his exact words." Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Pastor Ruth reached for Mrs. Washington's hand. "And what instructions did Sergeant Daly give you about reporting the incident?" "He taught me how to write it up. Said to note signs of intoxication, aggression, anything that would justify escalation. He's been coaching newer officers for years on how to make stops look legitimate on paper." Daly's face darkened, his jaw clenching visibly. "Officer Mercer, did you preserve any evidence of these events?" He reached into his jacket pocket, producing a small USB drive. "Yes, I kept a backup of my original body cam recording." The complete, unedited version. The police union lawyer stood again. Objection! This evidence wasn't properly disclosed. Your Honor, Alana responded. Given the documented tampering with official records, this backup copy is crucial evidence of the truth. Judge Whitaker leaned forward. I'll allow it. Officer Mercer, please explain how you preserved this recording. I downloaded it right after the shift, before anyone could delete it. I knew, he glanced at Daly. I knew what was coming. I've seen it before. Dev Patel approached with his laptop, connecting it to the courtroom's audio system. The USB drive was inserted, and after a moment of technical setup, the recording began to play. The audio was crystal clear. They heard the initial approach to Alana's car, the hostile questioning, the escalating threats. Then Daly's voice came through, unmistakable. Make her choose, baby or cuffs. Gasps filled the courtroom. Several of the elderly witnesses shook their heads, tears in their eyes. They'd heard these words before, over years of similar stops. That's not all, Mercer continued, his voice stronger now. Sergeant Daly keeps a spreadsheet, tracks every stop, marks them by race, has quotas for each shift. He calls it productivity metrics, but it's targeting, pure and simple. The CPS representative was frantically taking notes, her earlier doubts about Alana's fitness completely transformed. And these practices, were they common knowledge within the department? Everyone knew, but Sergeant Daly had protection, union backing, connections up the chain. Nobody dared speak up. Alana produced a document. Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence this internal memo from 3 years ago. Officer Mercer's performance review, where Sergeant Daly praises his aggressive interdiction techniques and demographic awareness. Judge Whitaker examined the document, his expression grave. The implications were clear. The department's leadership had been aware and complicit. Officer Mercer, Alana continued, what made you decide to come forward now? He straightened in his chair. Watching that fake video go viral, seeing them try to destroy your reputation, threaten your child. He paused, composing himself. I joined the force to help people, not to terrorize them. This isn't right. From the gallery, Pastor Ruth nodded encouragingly. The elderly witnesses sat perfectly still, their presence a silent witness to years of similar abuses finally being exposed. Dev played more of the audio. They heard Daly's casual racism, his threats, the calculated way he built a false narrative during the stop. The recording captured everything. The baby's cries, Alana's calm requests for badge numbers, Daly's escalating intimidation. The police union lawyers huddled, whispered frantically. Their strategy of denial and deflection was crumbling with each new revelation. Judge Whitaker raised his hand, stopping the playback. His expression was stern as he surveyed the courtroom. Decades of experience showed in the careful way he considered his next words. In light of this testimony and evidence, he began, this court is deeply troubled by the apparent scope of misconduct. Before we proceed further, he turned to his clerk. Please contact the U.S. Attorney's Office. These allegations suggest federal civil rights violations that require immediate attention. The clerk nodded and hurried from the courtroom. Daly's confident smirk finally faltered as the weight of federal involvement sank in. Judge Whitaker adjusted his glasses. We'll take a 30-minute recess while the federal prosecutors are contacted. Officer Mercer, you'll remain under oath. Court security will ensure your safety during this break. As the gallery began to stir, Alana gathered her notes, her hands steady despite the morning's intensity. The elderly witnesses in the front row sat resolute, years of their own documentation finally validated by Mercer's testimony. 2 court officers moved to flank Mercer as he stepped down from the witness stand. His eyes met Alana's briefly, not seeking forgiveness, but acknowledging the truth had finally been spoken. The afternoon sun slanted through the high courtroom windows as people filed back in after recess. The gallery was standing room only now. Word had spread quickly. Community members pressed shoulder to shoulder with reporters, while uniformed officers lined the back wall, their expressions tense. 2 federal prosecutors had arrived during the break, taking seats at a hastily arranged table. Their presence added gravity to the proceedings, their notepads already filled with preliminary observations. Alana sat at her table, back straight, Noah sleeping peacefully in his carrier beside her. Pastor Ruth had moved to sit directly behind them, a steadying presence. The elderly witnesses remained in their front row seats, straight-backed and dignified, like sentinels of justice. Judge Whitaker entered, his robes rustling as he took his seat. The room fell silent. "Before we proceed," he began, his voice carrying clearly, "I want to acknowledge the extraordinary nature of these proceedings. What we've heard today suggests not isolated incidents, but systematic abuse of power and violation of constitutional rights." He shuffled through his notes, each movement deliberate. "Based on Officer Mercer's testimony and the substantial corroborating evidence, this court finds probable cause to believe serious crimes have been committed. Sergeant Brent Daly," he fixed his gaze on the officer, "you are hereby referred for criminal indictment on multiple counts: civil rights violations, evidence tampering, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and filing false official reports." Daly's face reddened, but he remained silent as Judge Whitaker continued. "Furthermore, the conduct of the police union leadership in this matter has been deeply troubling. Mr. James Morrison," he addressed the union president who sat behind the defense table, "this court finds probable cause that you participated in the creation and distribution of falsified evidence, namely the doctored video recording and the illegal release of confidential medical records. You are hereby charged with obstruction of justice and witness intimidation." Morrison's lawyer immediately stood to object, but Judge Whitaker raised his hand. "Save it for the criminal proceedings, Counselor. Court officers will take both men into custody following this hearing." The judge turned his attention to the Child Protective Services representative. "As for the CPS investigation into Ms. Pierce's fitness as a parent, this court finds it was initiated under false pretenses and malicious intent. The case is dismissed with prejudice. Moreover, all records related to this fraudulent investigation are to be sealed immediately." The CPS worker nodded, already gathering her materials to leave. "Additionally," Judge Whitaker continued, "Ms. Pierce's medical records, illegally obtained and distributed, are hereby sealed. Any media outlet continuing to publish them will face contempt charges." He paused, removing his glasses to address the room directly. "Chief Hardwick, step forward, please." The police chief rose slowly from her seat, her usual confident stride notably absent as she approached the bench. "This court has reviewed evidence showing you were made aware of Sergeant Daly's quota system and racial targeting practices through multiple internal complaints. Your failure to act makes you complicit in these violations. Do you have anything to say?" Chief Hardwick cleared her throat. "Your Honor, I hereby tender my immediate resignation as Chief of Police." "So noted," Judge Whitaker replied coldly. "The federal prosecutors may wish to speak with you as well." The judge turned to address the entire courtroom. "The revelations today paint a disturbing picture of systemic abuse, but they also show the courage of those who fought back. From Miss Pierce's careful documentation to Officer Mercer's testimony, from Pastor Ruth's witness vigil to the community elders who preserved evidence for years." He gestured to the federal prosecutors. "The U.S. Attorney's Office will conduct a full investigation into the department's practices. This court will retain jurisdiction to monitor implementation of necessary reforms." The elderly witnesses in the front row nodded in solemn approval. They had waited decades for this moment. "Before we conclude," Judge Whitaker said, "I want to address Ms. Pierce directly." He turned to face her. "You faced an orchestrated campaign of intimidation and character assassination. You were threatened, your child was endangered, your privacy was violated. Yet you responded not with vengeance, but with methodical pursuit of justice through proper legal channels. You are a credit to this office and this community." Alana remained composed, but her eyes shone with emotion as she gently touched Noah's hand. "This court is adjourned." The gavel fell with finality. As people began to rise, court officers moved to take Daly and Morrison into custody. The union lawyer tried to intervene, but Judge Whitaker's stern look silenced any protest. Outside, the late afternoon air hummed with voices. Word had spread throughout the day, and hundreds had gathered on the courthouse steps and lawn. They held candles, even though the sun hadn't set yet, creating a sea of tiny flames. Pastor Ruth's choir had assembled on the steps, their voices rising in the old civil rights hymn, "Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Around." The melody carried across the crowd, more voices joining with each verse. Alana emerged from the courthouse doors, carrying Noah. The singing swelled. Mrs. Washington, one of the eldest witnesses, stepped forward to drape a colorful handmade quilt around Alana's shoulders, a symbol of community protection and care. The hymn shifted to "We Shall Overcome," the familiar words echoing off the courthouse columns. Young parents held their children up to see, elderly witnesses wiped tears from their eyes, and even some officers joining the crowd nodded in rhythm. Alana stood at the top of the steps, Noah secure in her arms, as the music washed over them. The setting sun painted the scene in shades of gold and purple, a fitting close to a day of long-delayed justice. Golden morning light filtered through the farmers' market canopies, casting dappled shadows on the bustling crowd. Alana pushed Noah's stroller between the colorful stalls, breathing in the scent of fresh produce and baked goods. At 6 months old now, Noah sat up straighter, his curious eyes taking in the vibrant scene around him. "Look who it is," Mrs. Chen called from her vegetable stand, coming around to peek at Noah. "Getting so big." She slipped a ripe peach into Alana's bag with a wink. "On the house, for our guardian angel." Alana smiled, watching Noah reach for the peach's fuzzy skin. "Thank you, but you don't have to." "Let us celebrate," Mrs. Chen insisted. "My grandson drives through town now without looking over his shoulder every minute. That's worth more than a peach." At the next stall, Mr. Rodriguez was selling tamales. He gestured to the newspaper spread across his table, its bold headline declaring, "Noah's Law passes. Sweeping police reforms transform traffic stops." "My daughter cut this out to frame," he said proudly. "First time in 30 years, I feel like the law's really protecting us." Alana shifted Noah to her hip as she scanned the article. The law's provisions were laid out clearly. Quotas for traffic stops were now illegal, all stop data had to be publicly released monthly, and a new civilian oversight board would review body camera footage. Pretext stops for minor violations like air fresheners or single broken taillights were banned. The indictments came down yesterday, too, a young mother chimed in, bouncing her own baby. "Daly and 4 others, federal charges." Alana nodded, remembering the weight of that investigation. Mercer's testimony had opened floodgates, revealing decades of systematic abuse. He'd lost his badge, but his cooperation had helped build an airtight case. "My son's friend is in the new police academy class," called Ms. Wilson from her honey stand. "Says they're completely rebuilding the training. De-escalation, implicit bias, constitutional rights. It's not just lip service anymore." Noah grabbed for a jar of golden honey, making everyone laugh. Ms. Wilson handed him a wooden honey dipper to play with instead. "The real change is in the numbers," said Professor Hammond, waiting in line for coffee. He taught statistics at the community college. Traffic stops down 40%, but serious crime arrests are steady. Proves what we knew. All those stops weren't about public safety. Alana shifted Noah to her other hip, his weight a comfortable reminder of why she'd fought so hard. A former officer approached, now wearing the blue vest of the new Civilian Oversight Board. "Ma'am," she said respectfully, "just finished reviewing last month's footage. Compliance is at 98%. Officers are keeping cameras on, following procedures. The transparency's working." The conversation was interrupted by excited squeals, a group of kids racing past on bikes, carefree and unconcerned. Their parents watched without the usual tension, no longer needing to warn them about police attention. "Remember how it used to be?" Pastor Ruth appeared, her Sunday shopping basket full. Mothers teaching children as young as 5 what to do if stopped. "Yes, sir." "No, sir." Hands where they can see them. Now my grandson asks why we were so afraid. Alana adjusted Noah's sun hat, remembering her own childhood lessons. "There's still work to do," she said quietly. "But now we have tools to do it," Ruth replied. "Real oversight, real consequences. Did you see the union's new leadership? Actually pushing for accountability themselves. They passed the Community Bulletin Board, covered with flyers for the upcoming Civilian Oversight Board elections. Candidates from every neighborhood had stepped forward, eager to serve. Near the market entrance, Officer Chen, Mrs. Chen's daughter, was helping an elderly man carry his groceries. No tension, no fear, just community service as it should be. "Officer," Alana greeted her. "Ma'am," Chen smiled, "just finished my shift. First time in my career I feel proud of every single stop I made. Each one legitimate, each one documented." Noah reached for Chen's badge, fascinated by its shine. She let him touch it, then offered him a sticker instead. "The new cadets ask about you," Chen added. "You're part of the training curriculum now. How to serve with integrity, how to resist pressure to cut corners." They passed the old quota board building, now converted into a community center. Where Daley once tracked his targets, children now learned art and music. The walls displayed a youth mural project, hands of all colors joined together. Walking back to her office, Alana noticed small changes everywhere. Officers chatting with shop owners, teenagers skateboarding without being hassled, cars with minor repairs driving without fear. The courthouse felt different too. The metal detectors remained, but the atmosphere had shifted from intimidation to professional service. The security guards greeted her by name, making silly faces at Noah. In her office, sunlight streamed through the windows. Her assistant had framed the signed copy of Noah's Law, ready to hang. The simple black frame highlighted the formal text, each word representing months of struggle and testimony. Alana lifted Noah from his stroller, holding him close as she studied the document. His baby fingers reached for the glass, leaving tiny smudges. She didn't wipe them away. Through her window, she could see the intersection where she'd been stopped that day. The same streetlight camera blinked its red eye, but its meaning had transformed. No longer a tool of surveillance and fear, but a guardian of accountability and truth. A young mother crossed the street below, child in arms, head high and unafraid. No police cruiser lurked at the corner. No quota board tracked her movement. Just the quiet flow of community life, protected by laws that finally served everyone equally. Noah squirmed in her arms, reaching toward the window. Together they watched the city move in its new rhythm. Every blink of the camera light a reminder of promises kept and justice served. I hope you enjoyed that story. Please share it with your friends and subscribe so that you do not miss out on the next one. In the meantime, I have hand-picked 2 stories for you that I think you will enjoy. Have a great day.